Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the Defiance. Through the big window, he could see space battles happening everywhere. Bright flashes lit up the darkness as ships exploded. The enemy was winning. "Captain, we're getting calls for help from the Zephyrian fleet," said his communications officer. The young man's hands shook as he worked at his station. Jake looked at the battle display. Red dots showed enemy ships. Blue dots showed friendly ships. There were too many red dots, not enough blue ones. "Tell them we can't help right now," Jake said. "We have our own problems." The Devourers had come in bigger numbers than anyone expected. These machine ships were smart and fast. They had been fighting the galaxy's species for hundreds of years. Usually the Coalition could hold them back. Not today. Dr. Lisa Kane walked up to Jake. She was the ship's expert on alien life and enemy technology. Her lab coat was dirty from working on broken equipment. "The new Devourer ships are different," she said. "They're using some kind of new weapon. Our shields can't stop it." Jake nodded. He had seen 3 human ships destroyed in the last hour. The enemy's new weapons cut through their armor like it was paper. "Sir, the Nereid ships are asking for backup," another officer called out. Jake looked at the display again. The fish-like aliens from the water worlds were fighting hard, but their bioships were taking heavy damage. Green blood leaked from their living vessels into space. "We're stretched too thin," Jake said. "Tell them to fall back to the rally point." Lieutenant Colonel Alex Turner ran onto the bridge. His marine armor was scratched and dented. He had been fighting boarding parties that tried to get onto their BAD ship. "Captain, we just pushed back another group," Alex said. "But they're getting smarter. They almost reached the engine room." Jake felt tired. The human fleet had been fighting for 18 hours straight. His people were getting worn down. The aliens in the Coalition were stronger and had better technology. But humans were stubborn. They kept fighting when others might give up. "Captain," the communications officer sounded scared. "The Luminary fleet just went silent." "All of them." Jake's stomach dropped. The Luminary were beings made of pure energy. They lived in special ships that looked like floating crystals. They were some of the most powerful fighters in the Coalition. "Try to raise them again," Jake ordered. Static came through the speakers. Then nothing. Chief Engineer Maria Santos called from the engine room. "Captain, we're running low on power. The new Devourer weapons are draining our systems faster than we can recharge them." Jake made a hard choice. "All human ships, this is Morrison. Begin retreat to Earth system. We'll regroup there and wait for our allies." The human fleet turned and ran. Jake hated retreating, but it was the smart thing to do. They had lost too many ships, too many good people. As they flew toward Earth, Jake got more bad news. The Zephyrian crystal ships had stopped talking. The Nereid biofleet went quiet. One by one, every alien species in the Coalition stopped responding to calls. "What's happening out there?" Jake asked Dr. Kane. "I don't know," she said. "Maybe their communication systems got damaged. Maybe they're regrouping like we are." But Jake had a bad feeling. In all his years of fighting, he had never seen the HFY aliens go completely silent. They always stayed in contact, even during the worst battles. The trip back to Earth took 2 days. When they arrived, Jake saw other human ships already there. But something was wrong. Only human ships filled the space around Earth. No crystal ships from the Zephyrians. No bioships from the Nereids. No energy beings from distant stars. Admiral Karen Wells called a meeting of all ship captains. Her face looked old and tired on the video screen. "We've lost contact with every alien species in the Coalition," she said. "Long-range scouts report something strange. The alien homeworlds are still there, but no one is answering our calls." Captain Beth Morgan spoke up from her fighter carrier. "What about the Devourer fleet? Are they still attacking?" "That's the weird part," the Admiral said. "They've pulled back too. It's like they're waiting for something." Jake felt cold. "Admiral, request permission to take a scout team to check on our allies. Something's not right." "Permission granted, Captain. Take the Defiance and 2 escort ships. Find out what happened to our friends." As Jake prepared his ship for the mission, Dr. Kane ran more tests on captured Devourer technology. She found something that made her hands shake. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, calling him to her lab. She showed him data on her computer screen. "I've been studying the enemy weapons. The energy patterns are strange. It's like they're designed to affect organic brains." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. I think the Devourers aren't just trying to destroy us, she said. I think they're trying to capture us, change us somehow. Jake stared at the data. If Dr. Kane was right, then the battle at Kepler Station wasn't a normal fight. It was something else. Something worse. The Defiance left Earth orbit with two smaller ships. As they flew toward the nearest alien world, Jake hoped they would find their allies safe. He hoped the silence was just a problem with communication systems, but deep in his heart, Jake knew they were going to find something terrible, something that would change everything humans thought they knew about the war. The stars around them seemed darker than usual. Space felt empty and cold. For the first time in 200 years, human ships flew alone through a galaxy that had gone silent. And somewhere in the darkness, the Devourers waited. The Defiance reached the Zephyrian home world 3 days later. Jake stood on the bridge, looking at the planet through the main screen. It looked normal. The crystal cities still sparkled on the surface. The orbital stations still floated in space. But no ships came to meet them. No voices answered their calls. Take us into orbit, Jake told his pilot. Slow and careful. Dr. Lisa Kane worked at her scanner station. I'm picking up power readings from the cities. Everything looks like it's working normally. But where is everyone? Asked Lieutenant Colonel Alex Turner. Commander Tony Rodriguez, the ship's intelligence officer, studied the data coming from the planet. Sir, I'm seeing something strange. The cities are active, but there are no life signs. Jake felt his stomach twist. What do you mean, no life signs? I mean, the scanners show the cities are running, but there are no people in them. No Zephyrians anywhere on the planet. Dr. Kane looked up from her station. That's impossible. This planet had 50 million Zephyrians living on it. Jake ordered a small team to go down to the planet's surface. Alex led the Marines while Dr. Kane brought her scientific equipment. They took a shuttle down to the biggest crystal city. What they found made no sense. The city was perfect. Crystal buildings reached toward the sky like frozen music. The streets were clean. The power systems worked fine, but no one was there. It's like they all just walked away, Alex said over the radio. Dr. Kane found something worse in the government building. Captain, you need to see this. Jake went down to the planet himself. Dr. Kane led him to a room full of computers and communication equipment. Everything was still running. Look at this, she said, pointing to a screen. The last message sent from this planet. Jake read the message. It was short and simple. We understand now. We go willingly to join the greater purpose. What does that mean? Jake asked. Dr. Kane shook her head. I don't know, but look at the timestamp. This was sent right after the battle at Kepler Station ended. They checked more planets. The Nereid water worlds were the same. Empty cities, under the oceans. No fish people, anywhere. The last messages all said similar things about joining and understanding. Back on the Defiance, Jake called Admiral Wells on Earth. Admiral, we have a problem. All the alien worlds are empty, not destroyed. Empty. Admiral Wells looked shocked on the video screen. Empty how? Their people are just gone. Like they all left at the same time. But they left everything behind. Dr. Peter Hayes, a scientist from Earth, joined the conversation. Captain, I need to examine any Devourer technology you captured. I have a theory. Jake had his people send all their captured enemy equipment to Dr. Hayes on Earth. While they waited for answers, Jake's fleet kept searching for survivors. They found more empty worlds, more abandoned cities, more strange messages about joining, something greater. Then Dr. Hayes called with news that made Jake's blood run cold. Captain, I found something horrible in the Devourer technology. These machines aren't just weapons. They're conversion tools. What do you mean? Jake asked. Doctor, Hayes held up a piece of the enemy equipment. This device doesn't kill people. It changes how their brains work. It makes them want to join the Devourer collective. Dr. Kane, who was listening, went pale. Are you saying the Devourers don't destroy civilizations? They recruit them? Exactly, Dr. Hayes said. Every species that fights the Devourers long. Enough gets converted. They become part of the machine collective willingly. Jake felt sick. So our allies didn't die in battle. They chose to join the enemy. The technology is very advanced, Dr. Hayes continued. It finds what each species wants most and promises to give it to them. For the Zephyrians, It probably promised perfect harmony. For the Nereids, eternal peace in their oceans. Commander, Rodriguez had been quiet, but now he spoke up. Sir, if Dr. Hayes is right, then we were never really allies with those species. We were all just cattle being prepared for harvest. Jake thought about all the battles they had fought together. All the times human soldiers had died protecting alien worlds. Had it all been a lie? There's more, Dr. Hayes said. I've been studying the conversion process. It only works on certain types of brains, species that evolved to be cooperative and peaceful. What about humans? Jake asked, though he was afraid of the answer. Dr. Hayes smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. Human brains are different. We evolved through constant fighting and competition. Our brains resist the conversion process. Dr. Kane understood first. The Devourers can't convert us. That's right, Dr. Hayes said. And if they can't convert us, then we're a problem they can't solve the usual way. Jake was starting to understand something terrible. How long has this been going on? How many species have been converted? Commander Rodriguez had been checking old records. Sir, according to galactic history, the Devourers have been active for millions of years. Every major civilization that ever fought them eventually disappeared. Disappeared or converted? Jake asked. We always thought they were destroyed. Now I think they were all converted. Every advanced species in the galaxy's history. Jake looked out at the stars and realized something that made him feel cold and alone. Humanity might be the only species in the entire galaxy that couldn't be converted by the Devourers. Sir, his communications officer called out, I'm picking up signals from the edge of the system. Big ships coming our way. Jake looked at his scanner display. Hundreds of ships were approaching, ships that looked familiar. Those are coalition vessels, Dr. Kane said. Zephyrian crystal ships, Nereid bioships, luminary energy vessels. But Jake knew better now. No, he said. Those are Devourer ships crewed by our former allies. The converted fleet sent a message. It came in Jake's own language, but the voice sounded wrong. It had the tone of a Zephyrian, but the words were human. Human vessels, you have served your purpose. It is time for you to join the collective. Resistance will only cause unnecessary suffering. Jake looked at his crew. They all understood now. Every species they had called friend was coming to convert them or destroy them. All ships, this is Captain Morrison, Jake said into his radio. Battle stations, we're going home to warn Earth. As the Defiance and its escort ships ran from the converted fleet, Jake knew that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer part of a galactic alliance. They were alone against an enemy that had been collecting species for millions of years. An enemy that now included every civilization humanity had ever trusted. The war was just beginning. The Devourer fleet reached Earth 2 weeks after Jake's warning. Admiral Karen Wells had used that time to prepare every defense humanity had. Ships surrounded Earth like a metal shell. Weapons platforms floated in space between the enemy and home. Jake stood in the command center deep under Earth's surface. General Sam Carter, the man in charge of Earth's defense, studied the enemy fleet on the big display screens. 2,000 ships, General Carter said. All of them used to be our friends. Jake watched the enemy fleet take positions around Earth's solar system. He could see Zephyrian crystal ships that sparkled like diamonds. Nereid bioships that looked like giant sea creatures. Luminary energy vessels that glowed like small stars. They're not attacking yet, Dr. Lisa Kane said. She had been studying the enemy's patterns. They're waiting for something. Dr. Frank Wilson, a man who studied how minds work, joined them in the command center. I think I know what they're waiting for. They want to convert us, not destroy us. They're probably preparing their conversion technology. The first attack came 3 hours later, but it wasn't what anyone expected. Instead of weapons, the enemy ships sent out strange signals. The signals went right through Earth's shields and reached the planet's surface. Jake felt something touch his mind. A voice that wasn't his own spoke inside his head. You have fought well, humans, but fighting is no longer necessary. Join us, and you will have peace forever. Join us, and you will never feel pain or fear again. The voice was gentle and kind. It promised everything Jake had ever wanted. An end to war. An end to watching friends die in battle. Perfect peace for all humanity. But something in Jake's mind pushed back against the voice. It felt wrong. Too easy. Too perfect. Around him, Jake saw other people listening to the voice. Some of them nodded their heads like they were agreeing with it, but others, like Jake, looked angry and confused. "Everyone out of the command center!" General Carter shouted. "Now!" The humans ran to safe rooms deep underground. The rooms had special walls that blocked the enemy signals. Dr. Wilson checked on everyone as they gathered in the safe areas. "How many of you heard the voice?" he asked. About half the people raised their hands. "How many of you wanted to listen to it?" A few. People raised their hands, but most looked angry. "This is interesting," Dr. Wilson said. "The conversion signals are working on some humans, but not others." Jake felt angry that something had tried to get into his mind. "Why didn't it work on all of us?" Dr. Wilson thought for a moment. "I think it has to do with how humans evolved. We came from a world where everything was trying to kill us. Our brains learned to be suspicious of things that seemed too good to be true." Captain Beth Morgan, who led the fighter pilots, laughed. "So you're saying we're too mean and paranoid to be converted?" "Something like that," Dr. Wilson said. "Most species evolved to be cooperative. Humans evolved to be competitive and suspicious. It's keeping us safe." The conversion signals kept coming for 3 days. Each time, fewer humans were affected. It was like their brains were learning to fight back against the alien influence. On the 4th day, the enemy gave up on conversion and started a real attack. The battle was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The converted aliens fought with perfect coordination. They moved like parts of one giant machine, but they also fought like they were still the species they used to be. The Zephyrian ships used crystal weapons that could cut through anything. The Nereid bioships healed themselves when they got damaged. The luminary energy beings moved faster than human ships could track, but humans had something the enemy didn't expect. They fought dirty. Captain Beth Morgan led her fighter wing in an attack on a crystal ship. Instead of fighting it directly, her pilots flew inside the ship's crystal structure. The enemy couldn't shoot at them without damaging their own ship. "This is Morgan to all fighters," she said over the radio. "Don't fight fair. These things used to be our friends. Use what you know about them." Jake took the Defiance close to a Nereid bioship. Instead of using weapons, he ordered his engineers to pump poison into space. The bioship tried to filter the poison out, but it was the same poison that killed Nereid food sources. The ship got sick and had to retreat. The human fleet fought for 6 hours. They lost many ships, but they also destroyed enemy vessels. More importantly, they learned something. "The converted aliens are still thinking like their original species," Dr. Kane reported to Jake. "They have all their old weaknesses." Jake saw an opportunity. "All ships, this is Morrison. Target the luminary vessels with electromagnetic pulse weapons. Target the bioships with toxins. Target the crystal ships with sonic disruptors." The human fleet changed tactics. Instead of fighting the Devourer technology, they fought the converted species using everything humans knew about their former allies. It worked. The enemy fleet started taking heavy losses. But then something happened that changed everything. Jake was leading a boarding party onto a damaged crystal ship when they found something horrible. In the ship's center, they found a Zephyrian. It was still alive, but its crystal body was connected to Devourer machines. The alien saw Jake and tried to speak. Its voice was weak and broken. "Help me," it said. "Still conscious. Can't control body." Jake realized the terrible truth. The converted aliens weren't willing partners. They were prisoners in their own bodies. "The conversion doesn't change their minds," Jake told Dr. Kane over the radio. "It controls their bodies while leaving their minds aware." Dr. Kane's voice was shocked. "They're all still conscious? All of them are trapped inside their own bodies?" Jake looked at the suffering Zephyrian. "We have to find a way to free them. But first, they had to win the battle." Jake's boarding party found the Devourer control center on the crystal ship. The machines were more advanced than anything humans had ever seen. But they had one weakness. They were designed to control willing minds, not fight against resistant ones. Jake connected his own mind to the Devourer system. The machines tried to convert him, but his brain fought back. While the machines were confused, Jake learned how they worked. "All human ships," Jake called out. "I know how to hurt them. The Devourer control systems can't handle minds that fight back. Board their ships and connect resistant humans to their control centers. It will overload their systems. The human..." Fleet changed tactics again. They stopped trying to destroy enemy ships and started boarding them. Human Marines connected themselves to Devourer control systems, using their resistant minds as weapons. It worked. One by one, enemy ships started shutting down as their control systems overloaded. By the end of the day, half the enemy fleet was disabled. The other half retreated to safe distance. Jake stood on his bridge looking at the damaged but victorious human fleet. They had learned something important. Humans weren't just immune to conversion. They could use their immunity as a weapon. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we're getting a message from the enemy fleet." The message came from a converted luminary, but the voice sounded confused and angry. "You are different. This was not expected. The collective will need to reconsider." Jake smiled grimly. For millions of years, the Devourers had converted every species they met. Now they had found one that couldn't be converted. One that could fight back in ways they didn't understand. The war was far from over. But for the first time, the Devourers had a problem they couldn't solve with conversion. They had found humanity. 6 months after the battle for Earth, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the control room of a captured Devourer ship. The vessel had once been a Zephyrian crystal ship, but now it belonged to humanity. Captain Steve Murphy, a former mining engineer, was learning to pilot the strange vessel. "It's like flying a living computer," Steve said, his hands moving over crystal controls that glowed when he touched them. "The ship responds to thoughts as much as commands." Dr. Amy Clark worked nearby, with Dr. Lisa Kane. They had spent months studying Devourer conversion technology. Today they were trying something that had never been done before. They were going to free a converted alien. "Are you sure this will work?" Jake asked Dr. Clark. She looked tired. Dark circles showed under her eyes from working day and night. "The theory is sound. If we can disrupt the Devourer control signals while keeping the host alive, their original mind should take back control." The test subject was a Nereid commander they had captured during a recent battle. The fish-like alien floated in a tank of water, connected to Devourer machines that controlled its movements. "Beginning the reversal process," Dr. Clark said. She activated a device that sent special signals into the Nereid's brain. The alien's body jerked and shook. For a moment, Jake thought they had killed it. Then the Nereid's eyes changed. Instead of the blank stare of a converted being, Jake saw intelligence and awareness. Where am I?" the Nereid asked in its own language. Jake's translator turned the words into English. "You're safe," Jake said. "You've been freed from Devourer control." The Nereid looked around the room, confused and scared. How long? How long was I controlled?" 3 years, Dr. Kane said gently. The Nereid made a sound like crying. "I remember everything. I could see and hear, but I couldn't control my body. I watched myself fight against humans who were trying to help me." Jake felt angry. The Devourers hadn't just enslaved entire species. They had forced them to watch themselves do terrible things. "What's your name?" Jake asked. "Commander Reef Singer," the Nereid said. "I was captain of the bioship Deep Current. What happened to my crew?" Jake's face was grim. "They're still converted, but now we know how to free them." Over the next few weeks, human teams freed dozens of converted aliens. Each one told the same horrible story. They had been conscious but helpless while the Devourers used their bodies as weapons, but the freed aliens also gave humanity something valuable: information. "The Devourer Collective has a center," Reef Singer told Jake during a meeting. "A place in the galaxy's core where the original Devourer minds exist. If that center is destroyed, the conversion network across the galaxy will fail." Major Dan Foster, who led Special Human Forces, studied star maps with the freed aliens. "How many ships guard this center?" "Millions," said a freed Zephyrian named Crystal Tone. "Every converted species has ships protecting the core. It's the most defended place in the galaxy." Jake looked at the star maps. The distance to the galaxy's core was enormous. It would take years to fight their way there. "We don't have years," Admiral Karen Wells said during a video call from Earth. Our scouts report that the Devourers are building new ships, bigger ones. They're preparing for another attack on Earth. Jake made a decision. Then we don't wait. We take the fight to them. With what? Admiral Wells asked. We have maybe 200 ships that can make the journey. They have millions. We have something they don't, Jake said. We have freed aliens who know their weaknesses, and we have human crews who can't be converted. The plan they made was dangerous. Human ships would jump deep into Devourer space, freeing converted crews along the way. Each freed ship would join the growing fleet heading toward the galaxy's core. It's never been tried before, Dr. Clark warned. Freeing aliens during active combat. Nothing we're doing has been tried before, Jake replied. The first raid was on a Devourer shipyard in the outer galaxy. Jake led a mixed force of human ships and freed alien vessels. Captain Steve Murphy flew his converted crystal ship alongside Reef Singer in a captured bioship. The shipyard was defended by converted Luminari energy beings, but Major Dan Foster had learned how to fight them. His Marines used special suits that disrupted energy attacks. They boarded the Luminari ships and connected human minds to the control systems. The Luminari ships shut down one by one as their systems overloaded from contact with resistant human brains. It's working, Dan reported over the radio. We're freeing the Luminari crews. Within hours, the shipyard was captured. Dozens of Luminari were freed from conversion. They joined Jake's growing fleet with tears of light streaming from their energy forms. We never thought we would be free again, their leader, Bright Dawn, told Jake. We will fight beside you until the collective is destroyed. The raids continued. Across the galaxy, human ships struck fast and hard at Devourer outposts. Each victory freed more converted aliens and captured more ships, but the Devourers adapted. They started using different tactics. During a raid on a converted Zephyrian colony, Jake's fleet found something new. The Devourer ships there were crewed entirely by machines. No converted aliens at all. They're learning, Dr. Kane observed. They know we can free converted crews, so they're building pure machine ships. The machine ships were harder to capture. They couldn't be overloaded by resistant human minds because they had no biological crews to control. But humans learned to adapt too. They started using the freed aliens' knowledge of Devourer technology to build new weapons. Crystal Tone helped human engineers create sonic weapons that could shatter Devourer crystal hulls. Reef Singer taught them how to create biological viruses that attacked bioship systems. Bright Dawn showed them how to build energy disruptors that could shut down machine minds. After a year of fighting, Jake's fleet had grown to over 1,000 ships. They had freed hundreds of thousands of aliens from conversion, but they had also learned something disturbing. The Devourer core is sending out new signals, Dr. Clark reported. They're trying to convert entire planets at once, instead of just individuals. Jake looked at the data. If the Devourers succeeded, they could convert billions of beings in a single attack. How long before they're ready? Jake asked. Maybe 6 months, Dr. Clark said. Jake called together all the ship captains in his fleet. Humans, Zephyrians, Nereids, Luminari, and dozens of other freed species gathered in person and by video link. We can't wait any longer, Jake told them. It's time to attack the core. Reef Singer spoke for many when he said, the core is defended by more ships than exist in the rest of the galaxy combined. It's suicide. Jake smiled grimly. Good thing humans are too stupid to know when something is impossible. The freed aliens looked at each other. Then Crystal Tone began to laugh. Soon others joined in. Very well, human Jake, Bright Dawn said. If you are willing to try the impossible, we will try it with you. The great fleet turned toward the galaxy's core. Behind them, they left a trail of freed worlds and broken Devourer outposts. Ahead of them lay the greatest concentration of enemy forces in galactic history. But for the first time in millions of years, the Devourers were afraid. They had never faced an enemy that could free their converted forces. They had never fought. Beings who got stronger with each battle instead of weaker. The final battle was coming. The galaxy's core was a place of ancient stars and terrible beauty. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance, looking at the enemy fleet that guarded the Devourer homeworld. The display screens couldn't show all the ships. There were too many. 10 million vessels, Admiral Chris Lee reported from his flagship. Every converted species in the galaxy is represented here. Jake's fleet had grown to 5,000 ships during the long journey. It seemed like a lot until now. Against 10 million enemy vessels, they looked like insects facing a storm. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we're getting a message from the planet's surface. The message came from the Devourer core itself." The voice was strange, like many voices speaking as one. "Humans of Earth, you have traveled far to reach your doom. We are the Eternal Collective. We have existed for millions of your years. We have gathered every thinking species in this galaxy into perfect unity." Jake opened a channel to respond. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human fleet. We've come to free the species you've enslaved." "Enslaved?" The voice sounded confused. "We have saved them from the chaos of individual thought. We have given them peace, purpose, unity. What you call slavery, we call perfection." Dr. Jennifer Ross, the scientist in charge of shutting down the Devourer beacon, worked at her station. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signals from the planet. They're preparing something big. We offer you one final chance," the Devourer voice continued. "Join us willingly, and your deaths will be quick and painless. Resist, and we will convert your entire species slowly, keeping your minds aware as we use your bodies against your homeworld." Jake looked around his bridge at the humans and freed aliens working together. "We've got a counteroffer. Surrender now, and we'll free your converted species without destroying you. Keep fighting, and we'll tear your collective apart piece by piece." The Devourer voice laughed. It was a sound like breaking glass. "Impossible. You are few. We are many. You are mortal. We are eternal." "Let's test that theory," Jake said. The battle began unlike any fight in galactic history. The human fleet didn't try to destroy the enemy ships. Instead, they focused on boarding them and freeing the converted crews. Major Dan Foster led thousands of human Marines in boarding pods. They flew through space battles to reach enemy ships. Once inside, they connected their resistant minds to Devourer control systems. But the enemy had learned too. Many ships had no converted crews at all. They were pure machines, built specifically to fight humans. "These new ships are different," Captain Steve Murphy reported from his crystal vessel. "They don't shut down when we connect to their systems." Jake watched his fleet take heavy losses. For every enemy ship they captured, they lost 2 of their own. The math was simple and terrible. They couldn't win this way. "All ships, this is Morrison," Jake announced. "New plan. We're going straight for the planet." "Sir, that's suicide," Admiral Lee replied. "We'll never make it through their defense grid." "We don't need to make it through," Jake said. "We just need to get Dr. Ross close enough to shut down their beacon." The human fleet formed up around the Defiance. Freed alien ships surrounded the human vessels, using their bodies as shields. It was a desperate plan, but it was their only chance. As they dove toward the planet, Jake saw the enemy fleet closing in around them. Weapons fire lit up space like a deadly fireworks show. "Hull breach on Deck 7, someone reported. "Losing atmosphere." "Engineering to bridge," Chief Engineer Maria Santos called. "The engines are overheating. We can't keep this speed much longer." Jake gritted his teeth. "How long until we reach the planet?" 15 minutes, his pilot replied. "Sir," Dr. Ross called from her station. "I'm detecting the beacon source. It's not on the planet's surface. It's inside the planet. The whole world is one giant machine." Jake stared at the data. The planet itself was artificial, a massive computer built millions of years ago. "Can you still shut it down?" Jake asked. "Maybe," Dr. Ross said. "But I'd need to get inside the planet's core, and I'd need time. A lot of time." Jake made a decision that would haunt him forever. "All ships, this is Morrison. Protect Dr. Ross at all costs. She's going down to the planet alone." "Captain, I'm going with her," said Major Foster. "No," Jake replied. "I need you here. This is a one-person mission." Dr. Ross gathered her equipment and headed for a shuttle. As she prepared to leave, she looked back at Jake. "If I don't make it back, tell Earth that we tried." "You'll make it back," Jake said. "Humans don't give up. That's what makes us dangerous." Dr. Ross flew her shuttle toward the planet while the human fleet fought desperately around her. The Devourers threw everything they had at the small craft, but freed alien ships kept throwing themselves in the way. Crystal Tone's ship exploded, protecting the shuttle. Reef Singer's bio-vessel was torn apart by enemy fire. Bright Dawn's energy form was scattered across space. One by one, the freed aliens died to give Dr. Ross a chance. She reached the planet's surface and used her equipment to burn through the artificial crust. Inside, she found corridors that stretched for miles. At the center of the planet, she discovered something that made her gasp. The original Devourer race was still alive, not as machines, but as living beings connected to the massive computer system. They had been the first to be converted, millions of years ago. But instead of losing their minds, they had become the controlling intelligence of the collective. "Who dares enter our sanctuary?" asked one of the ancient beings. It looked like a cross between a plant and an insect, connected to the walls by thousands of cables. "My name is Jennifer Ross," she said. "I'm here to free the galaxy from your control." "Free?" The ancient devourer seemed confused. "We saved the galaxy from chaos. Before us, species fought endless wars. They destroyed themselves with hatred and violence. We brought peace." "You brought slavery," Dr. Ross replied as she set up her equipment. "You cannot understand," another ancient voice said. "Your species is too young, too violent. You still fight and kill each other. That is why you resist conversion. You are not evolved enough for our gift." Dr. Ross found the beacon controls. They were more complex than anything she had ever seen. But human engineering was about making simple solutions to complex problems. "Maybe you're right," she said as she worked. "Maybe humans are too violent and stupid to understand your perfect peace. But you know what?" She connected her devices to the beacon system. Alarms began sounding throughout the planet. "We're too stupid to know when we're beaten." Dr. Ross activated her equipment. Energy flowed through the beacon system, but instead of shutting it down, she reversed it. Instead of sending conversion signals out to the galaxy, it sent freedom signals. Across the galaxy, converted beings suddenly found their minds free. The massive enemy fleet around the planet stopped moving as millions of aliens regained control of their bodies. "What have you done?" the ancient devourers screamed. "I've given everyone a choice," Dr. Ross said. "Something you took away millions of years ago." The planet began to shake as its systems overloaded. Dr. Ross ran for her shuttle as the artificial world started to collapse around her. Above, Jake watched in amazement as the enemy fleet turned on itself. Converted aliens, suddenly free, attacked the pure machine ships that had been controlling them. "All ships, this is Morrison," Jake announced. "Protect the freed aliens. Help them destroy the machine vessels." The battle turned into a celebration. Millions of beings, free for the first time in centuries or millennia, fought alongside humans to destroy their former prison. Dr. Ross barely escaped as the Devourer planet exploded. The beacon that had controlled the galaxy for millions of years was finally destroyed. In the aftermath, representatives from hundreds of freed species gathered around Earth. They faced a problem no one had expected. How do you rebuild a galaxy after millions of years of slavery? President Rachel Green of Earth addressed the assembly. "We could try to rule you," she said. "Humans proved we can fight the Devourers. We could claim the right to lead." Many aliens looked worried. They had been free from one master for only days. "But that's not who we are," President Green continued. "Humans don't want to rule anyone. We want to be left alone to build our own future. But we also want to help those who need help." Jake stood up in the assembly. "The galaxy is free, but it's not safe. There are still machine devourer ships out there. Pirates and warlords will try to fill the power vacuum. Peaceful species need protection." "What are you suggesting?" asked a freed Zephyrian leader. "Humans will be the galaxy's guardians," Jake said. "We'll patrol the borders. We'll hunt down the remaining devourers. We'll help species that can't defend themselves. But we won't rule anyone." A freed Nereid raised a question. "Why would you do this? What do humans gain?" Jake smiled. "We gain the knowledge that freedom survives, that peaceful species can live without fear. That's enough for us." The assembly agreed. Humans would be the galaxy's protectors, but not its rulers. Years later, Jake stood on the bridge of a new ship, the Guardian. His crew was mixed, humans and freed aliens working together. They patrolled the galaxy's edge, hunting devourer remnants and protecting new civilizations. "Captain," his communications officer called, "we're getting a signal from outside the galaxy. It looks like another devourer beacon."